Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Joshua Alana, your host, and today we have a fantastic guest joining us. Her name is Ayo Seriki, but she's popularly known as Tech Girl XS or Black Engineer on X.com, which is was popularly known as Twitter. She's a DevOps engineer at PayStack. So, but before we dive into our main topics, let's take a moment to get to know at Black Engineer, which is you can also call her Maya. Maya. Yeah, so Maya, could you share a bit about yourself, your tech journey, and your role at Paystack?
So my name is Mia. I'm a DevOps engineer. I'm currently working at PayStack. My tech journey. So I'm 3 years into my journey. Um, I started off like during my fourth year in school. So I had to go for like IT, and I got this opportunity to intern at Demos Cloud. Then after my internship, I was retained, and I got my internship through like She Code Africa, which is like a female tech organization. Then after my internship, I got retained, and I worked with them for an extra year, I think, before I got an offer from Paystack. Yeah, so
Aww.
basically, yeah, it's on me.
Wow, that is cool. So can you just tell us about like your role at Paystack? So people hear about DevOps engineer, but we
Yeah.
don't really know about it. Can you just tell us what you do briefly as a DevOps engineer?
Okay. So as simple as I can break it down, DevOps engineering is a combination of being a developer and being an operations engineer. So that's like being the guy that builds the application and being the guy that is able to maintain the application throughout its lifespan. So that is like after building the application, you have to make sure that it is always available to the people using it, and you have to make sure that when there is more people ready to use the application, that your application can take all of those people basically. So yeah, it's bridging the gap between development and operations now. So there is the front end, there is the back end, which is like development, and then
Yeah.
there is like more than just the back end, I would say, for the operations part of it. So that's like hosting your application in the cloud, um, and just very complicated things like that for the operations side of it. Yes.
That you said very complicated things. Okay. So we are beginners, so we don't want to complicate matters here. So
Yeah.
let's move on. Thanks for that brief intro about yourself. That sounds really interesting and amazing. Working as a DevOps engineer at Pastors is truly inspiring, and I know a lot of our audience would want to dive into that. Route. But yeah, so as we move forward, my next question for you, Mia, is
Yeah.
can you tell us, can you share more about the feminist tech space in Nigeria? So, what does this community represent, and what are the key objectives? So, you worked with She Can Code. So, I also feel like She Can Code is a tech feminist tech space in Nigeria. Can you just tell us about that?
Okay, so I don't think that's like a few sentence topic, but basically I can just say um when I got in, like I did not really know about the male being the most dominated gender in the tech space.
Are you
And the way I
serious?
got also no, like I knew it was there, but I didn't know like it was that serious, to be honest. And
Wow.
because I had to even come into this space through like She Code Africa, and I did not really understand the essence of having a female only community. So like when I got in and as I proceeded on my journey, I began to understand. So yeah, it's broadly dominated by guys, just because it's like telling a lady to be a carpenter. To be honest, it's
Ye-
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something that will ideally be what a woman would pick as first choice when you can like be a nurse or you can be something feminine, I guess. So I think it's just new knowledge that oh, this is actually like a really cool space for females to be in, where you can actually thrive and leave your mark. So yeah, I think it's, well, it's not new. But I mean, since we have, all these female communities right now, it's seemingly new, bringing in all the idea of like a female being in this space. Yeah,
Mm.
this.
So, what has been the growth so far, as regards women or female joining the tech space in Nigeria or
Sorry, can you
across
say
the
that
globe?
again?
Yeah. So, what has been the growth, like the growth so far? So, if you look at people in tech in Nigeria, Africa, or across the globe, you see that there are
Yeah.
more guys. So, women or female getting into tech, like what has been the growth so far in maybe numbers or generally?
Mm.
So, can we say we are
I
now
mean,
equal or guys are still
oh,
dominating?
well, I would just say it's been very progressive. I mean, I'm in tech due to one of those initiatives of women coming into tech. I don't
Mm,
think like if we did not have like female communities, I don't think I'd be into tech. So yeah, I would definitely say it's progressive, being that I'm a result of that progress. But of course, it's still a male-dominated field. Because I mean, it these things take time, but definitely far from where we used to be.
mm.
And yeah, in that aspect.
Oh, that is cool. That is cool. So, do you know? I only know she can code, and I got to know about tech trail. Do we have more tech spaces, tech society communities like that in Nigeria?
We definitely do. We definitely. I just don't know the names off the top of my head. I know there is like okay, there's one other female similar name even, but I'm currently like just I really know like a lot about She Code Africa because I went through them, but there is definitely more, and they're definitely everywhere. Like if you just Google like female tech spaces, you literally see them everywhere.
Okay. So, what are now the key objectives of these female tech communities?
I think their key objectives is mainly to bridge the gap, and
Okay.
especially for like a society like Nigeria where it's not just tech. So being able to bring women into the tech mentality, because I feel like it's a whole mentality, tech is not just like other professions. It's very futuristic. You have to be very open minded. So I think bringing
Yes.
women into that space is really empowering.
So it supports women empowerment a lot, right?
Sorry.
So did it really support women empowerment? Because there's
Hey, of
there's a
course.
there's 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 a gospel around that recently. We need to empower women, we need to empower women digitally, we need to empower women. So I feel like also having those female tech society or community is going to help
Yeah.
empower more women into tech. And that sounds
Yeah.
good. That sounds good. So there's a common question I would say that is around imposter syndrome because
Yeah.
you say that the space is male dominated, it's a male dominated field traditionally. So how can
Yeah.
women or newbies overcome imposter syndrome?
Yeah. Okay. So I remember when I just started out and I used to, have in quotes imposter syndrome. And I don't know, I saw somewhere that's like, how can you have like imposter syndrome when you're not like, because imposter syndrome means that you feel like you are so good, and all of a sudden it's like you cannot reach that level of greatness that you think you are. And for
Yes.
that to happen, you have to be great in the first place. So, and that's like a kind of ego. Like, why do you think you are so good that you can get imposter syndrome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that in those words, Sha. But I feel like, I mean, we should not see it as imposter syndrome. It's just that you don't know something, and once you learn something, you will know it forever. So, like, not knowing something does not make you less, first of all, and it does not mean like that's the end of you. I mean, you don't know something today, you will eventually learn it and then you will know it. Nobody can take that knowledge away from you. So if
From
that
you.
means asking somebody, searching for a mentor, having to ask like embarrassing questions, you should do all that because once you have that knowledge, you will have it forever. So it really imposter syndrome should just be like a guide, not a final destination that you feel like you cannot do something and hence you do nothing about not knowing how to do something.
Okay, okay. I think I also learned something right
Yeah.
now, right now. So you mean, so how do we practically overcome them? Is that we keep searching for knowledge, or we just have mentors around that we ask embarrassing questions, as you said, or
Mm.
we just keep learning till we master it? Because tech, remember, it is tech and it takes time. But then most time
Yeah.
we lack patience. So we think
Yeah.
it's the normal academic books that we read and then understand. But then when you read it and you're now ready to practice it, you'll be embarrassed that
Yeah.
whatever you've read, you just forget everything. So how do we
Exactly.
practically overcome this syndrome of a thing?
Okay, so I think, like, tech is practical in terms of like reading and forgetting it. I mean, you cannot do that in tech. You have to learn by doing and by making mistakes. And like when you read it and you want to like go into the practicals and you forget what you read, that's like the essence of documentations and communities and things like that. And sorry, what was the very first question?
And it was around imposter syndrome, like practically, because tech is practical. It's not
Yeah.
reading and not doing it. But then if imposter syndrome is like, okay, I feel like I know it, but then
Yeah.
it's as if I don't know anything again. Because you read something, you think you know it, but then when you want to practice it, you just discover that,
Yeah.
boy, everything is gone. Like then I need to go so it now goes back to that loop of always Google searching, always we now have ChatGPT, always
Yeah.
going back to ChatGPT to ask questions, to ask questions. So it's like the tech feed is more about asking than I would say doing, in a sense. So how do how do female, I would say, now overcome this imposter syndrome, like practically? Is that they just keep asking, or they just forget about it and just keep practicing, like just put it down and practice it till you're a master of the
Mm.
skill you are trying to learn?
Okay, so first thing I always tell people, like when they say they want to go into tech, I would ask them to be realistic about expectations, about like knowing things, right? So I feel
Yes.
like before you would actually come to a state where you feel like you know something about tech, it might take you a whole year of like full dedication. That's the first thing. So you cannot take a course for 1 month and expect to know things. And another thing,
Okay.
if you learn something and you think in quotes and emphasis on think that you know it, you probably don't know it. You have to be sure of what you know. So it's like you learn something and then you're trying to recollect and you're asking yourself, oh, do I know this thing? You probably don't, because if you did, you would not have to double guess yourself. You would just know that you know. It's the same way you know your name. You will not think that, oh, is my name really Mia? You will just know. So if you've learned something and you feel like, oh, I know it, you need to really, really check, like, do I actually know this thing? And that's where
Mm-hmm.
learning comes in. It comes from that living that comfort of it in your head, to actually being practical about it. And it's not about asking, it's about reading documentations. If, for
Yes.
example, if I want to what tool can I use? Let's say if I want to use Git, there is a
Yes.
whole no, let me use an operating system. So for example, there is this new operating system, Bottle Rocket, I think. So if I want to learn to use it now, it's built on top of Linux and I want to learn how to use it. There's a whole documentation for it. So
Mm.
I mean, I can read the old documentation. Of course, I will not remember everything. I don't think anybody ever sits down to read the old documentation and they feel like they know it. Our brain literally does not work like that. You have to go back to it and go back to it and go back to it. So when you have a problem, you go back to the documentation. So you don't necessarily have to ask, unless it's like a new bug you discovered that is not documented. Of course, you would ask
Documented
like senior people or people that built the tool and things like
too.
that. But I feel like just always go back to the documentation, go back to your basics. And I know people say Google is your best friend a lot, but literally, like, that's the only thing that can help you. Just because the problem you face now, It's not magical, it's not new. Somebody has faced it before,
Somebody
and the
has
person
faced it
definitely solved
before.
it. Yeah, and the person definitely solved it. So that means you can. So I remember when I just started, I would see some problems and I'll feel like, oh more, this problem has never been seen before. The bug will be so crazy. But then again, somebody has definitely seen it before. They've definitely solved it. It's definitely been documented. So just have that in mind that there's no problem you will see in tech, because people that have been in tech 20 years, is it that they did not see it? Is you that just joined 1 month that will see brand new problem. So yeah, all those things that make it seem like, oh, I can't do this. The problem is so crazy. Yeah, they don't exist. It, there is a solution somewhere. So you just have to be patient and dig deep enough and long enough. Yeah.
Wow, that is interesting. That is interesting. So let's just move on. So talking about building a solid professional presence on platforms. So um on your Twitter you have about 1,000 followers. And on
Yeah.
your LinkedIn you have about 5,000 or 2K around. So how do newbies how do they build this solid professional
Um,
presence
okay. I don't think
on
I'm the best position to answer that question, to be honest, because I don't feel like I do a lot. I mean, I just joined literally just 3 years ago, so I don't think I do a lot. I think it's just because I was fortunate enough to work in well-known companies, and there are people attracted to those companies, and the people that work there, I want to know how they got in there. That's why I was able to
Mhm.
attract followers. But in terms of putting myself out there, that's still a work in progress. I'm still trying to navigate
Oh.
my way around that. So yeah.
So she will also try to work in known companies, big companies, so that you don't have to do too much
No,
as
I mean,
well.
of course not. I mean, that will come based on the value you're able to give. And
Mm-hmm.
so that does not sound vague. What I mean is that that just means by the amount of time you're able to put into yourself to learning, those things will come naturally. It's just like high paying jobs. They won't come to you just because you want it, just because you are begging God for it, or just because you just you just want it to come to you. They won't come. They will come when you know how to solve their problems, and that's the only way. And that involves you putting dedicating time into learning and mastering your skills. Like that's just the only way.
Nice, 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 nice. I love that. I love that. It will not come because you want it. It will come because you are able and capable to solve their problem. Oh my goodness. That sounds really good. Yeah, so transitioning to our kind of next question is like so how does someone deeply get involved into the tech communities that we have, like the female tech communities that we have in Nigeria?
Mm, um, that's question. Um, I mean, I think the best thing to say is just to be curious about it, right? Because you really will not get into the tech community if you dedicate a day or a week safe to searching out those places and following everybody and just, trying to be everywhere. It's just with time you will realize that you are part of the community. It's like just being curious, wanting to know if something happens, wanting to go for tech events, not just waiting for one to arrive and you go. It's being curious about it, being curious to know what, like, the solution that these people are bringing. I think curiosity is like the driver, so it will make
Mm,
things automatic instead of you having to remind yourself that, oh, I want to be involved in community, or what should I do? It's you just being curious, wanting to know people that are doing well in the field that you want to go into. That will make you research for those kind of people. And once you search for those people and you follow them, the algorithms of these social media platforms will literally bring more people like that to you, which even makes it easier for you. So it just starts by you being curious.
okay, curiosity.
Yeah.
Audience, you have to be curious on what you want. Like be curious so that you just keep searching. And then yeah, she rightly said it. So it's about curiosity. Whatever you're curious about, you be able to find it and get it at your fingertips. So before we go, what advice do you have for beginners looking to navigate the tech space, Nigeria, or even getting started?
Mm. Well, like I previously said, just have it in mind that it's going to take some time. Don't expect to be working in Google after 1 year or 6 months. It doesn't happen like that. I'll say it's not as easy and as romanticized as you might see it. Like you might see somebody working in Google that is going for every tech talk, that is just everywhere doing everything. And you might be like, oh, that's where I want to be. I think it's a lot other than that. And
Mm.
people don't realize that. They just think, oh, the money is a lot and it's just to sit down in front of your computer. The amount of brain power that tech takes, that's what it takes, a lot of brain power. So I'll just say take your time with it. Don't rush yourself. 3 years, you might feel like, oh, it's like I don't know anything. No, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. There are people 20 years in and they are still googling for the smallest things because tech is just that rapidly changing. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot eat the tech flow. You just have to go with it. You have to be patient with yourself if you are going into tech, and just reduce all of those expectations that you'll be earning $100 million in a year. It's not, might suffer a bit, and but I can tell you that the that if you keep with it, if you stay persistent, you will not only enjoy the journey, but it will
Mm-hmm.
also be rewarding. And if you surround yourself with people that are walking the same journey with you, or people that have gone through it with you, I mean, there's nothing you cannot do in the tech space. And I would say that yeah, it's okay to not know stuff. Like it's very okay. Like sometimes I might have a problem at work, and I remember when I just started, I'll just believe that, oh, a senior will be able to fix it. Like there's no how. And then I go to the seniors, and they're as lost as me. So like everybody is just, this tech thing is just, it's not like every other profession, to be honest. It requires a lot of brain power, and there are people that have been here years and years before you building these systems, and it's been changing before then. So you will not expect yourself to just come in 3 years and understand everything. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just take your time, take it easy.
Take it easy, guys. Take it easy. No pressure, no pressure, but be persistent and consistent. No pressure, but be
Yeah.
persistent and consistent. Thank you, Mia, for providing such valuable insight to the feminist tech society in Nigeria and offering advice for us that are beginners. So it's been an enlightening conversation. I hope our listeners and found it helpful. To our audience, thank you so much for joining us live today. Remember to subscribe if you enjoyed this episode, and please follow Mia. Uh, I would drop tech and I say tech I say tech and do social media and this in description below. So find it there,
Yeah.
follow her and connect with her. You can learn from her. She works in a very known company. The company was sold $200 million at when you was sold. So she's there for you. Mia, are you open are you open for mentorship?
Ah, mentorship. I mean, I don't have experience like that, to be honest. So, it depends on what you're trying to achieve, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, so connect with her on LinkedIn as well, connect with her on Twitter, sorry, x.com, and probably on Instagram as well. Yeah. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Till then, happy coding and stay curious.